Well, today's topic is for military men and women, and we're talking about servant leadership in the military. If you're a follower of Jesus, you're following, believe it or not, you're following the greatest leader ever in the world. And so we're going to talk today about how to be a leader like Jesus, even though you're in the military. We're not talking about proselytizing everybody. We're just talking about being that Christ-like example. And we're joined in the studio by Alex. You're a fighter pilot in the Air Force. Thank you for serving. And help us talk through this idea of servant leadership. But first of all, is this an important topic for people in the military?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's had a bad leader, and in many ways you almost learn more from bad leaders that you had than from good leaders that you potentially had. But down to a T, all the good leaders I've had have always put their people first. And we say that a lot in the military, but it's almost like a catchphrase. Actually demonstrating that and putting your people before yourself, winning battles for them, all that kind of thing, that is a super important topic that is very easy to breeze over when you get a position of authority and turn yourself into a manager and not a servant leader.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're going to talk us through 4 or 5 points. Here's the first point you mentioned. I love this. It's don't make people guess at where you're going. This is kind of the most basic thing in leadership, right? Mission and vision.
Yeah, so it's almost like a version of control. If you don't have a clearly articulated plan for where you want your organization or your unit to go, you continually make people guess about what it is that you want. And then they're just constantly stepping on tiptoes, and it leads to a lot of frustration and really ineffectiveness and a giant waste of time. So the way that you serve them is by clearly understanding where you want to go, where you want to take your unit, and what your mission is, so that you give them the freedom of movement to operate within the vision that you've provided them. It's a lot of work, and that's why I think that it's part of servant leadership. It is a lot of work to clearly identify that plan.
Now, do you get to identify it, or is that handed down to you from on high?
Yeah, I think your overall mission is obviously going to be told to you. However, how you strive to accomplish that, there's so many things, and how you attack that plan of action is definitely going to be yours as a leader.
And then that leads to the next point. Lead people where you want them to follow you, right?
Exactly. So, the point of that is if you expect your people to follow you into places that are going to be dangerous or tasks that are sort of undesirable or difficult to do, you better be willing to show them how to do it and lead from the front. And if you're not willing to do it, then how can you expect your people to do it behind you? Yeah. The menial tasks is servant leadership if you're willing to get down on your knees and help out your people execute.
Yeah, I think people sniff it out, a fake leader. Right. Someone who's lazy, someone who's maybe comfort motivated, they'll sniff it out. And I'm sure in the military, that's a pretty poor leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of experience rolling around in the military, and a lot of young leaders leading older people who've got a lot more experience than them. And if you are not willing to jump in there and put your all towards those tasks that are not desirable, people are going to see right through you.
Yeah. The third point you make is win battles for your followers to gain loyalty. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so lots of leaders want to have grand strategic vision, and they want to go somewhere in the future. But if you don't win those small battles that make those jobs easier for the people along the way, you're going to lose them very quickly. And so you're demonstrating servant leadership by taking things off their plate that don't contribute to the mission, don't help them execute the job properly. Those are the battles that I'm talking about winning.
Alex, can you personally give an example of a time when somebody, one of your leaders in the military, did this for you, won a battle for you, and you noticed it and it made you want to follow him or her?
Yeah, you bet. So I had a squadron commander years ago. We were deployed and we were over in Korea. And there's sort of a term that we use for superfluous duties, and it's creep. And creep is rampant. It's all over the place, but it doesn't really have anything to do with flying, fighting, and winning in aerial combat. And I had a leader who was extremely good at just going, dude, there's things I want you to be good at, and those involve winning in the air, and there are things that I don't care about. And so if you can't get them done, then I will say that I'm the person who couldn't get them done. And that was servant leadership to me.
Wow, that's awesome. Be the last in line, you say, and everyone will notice.
You bet. So rank has its privileges is an adage as old as the military, and I just think that's a poor way of thinking about leadership in the military. Rank does have its privileges in leading people, but that is a privilege that really now puts you at the bottom of the deck when it comes to luxuries or other things that come up. So you lead from the front, you get your people to follow you, but then when it's time to have a luxury, it's time to slow down, you're the last one to do it. You're the last one off the battlefield, you're the last one to hop onto the jet. when people are leaving the deployed area, you're the last one to get food when everybody's starving and hungry.
Yeah, this comes straight from Scripture. Actually, Mark chapter 10, take a look at it. We'll put this up on the screen. Jesus called them to him, and he said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and the great ones exercise authority over them, but it shall not be so among you." He's talking to his disciples. "Whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." And so Jesus is saying this, be the last in line. That's the best kind of leader. It's this servant leader, right? In the military, is that hard, though, with the whole rank thing?
You know, I think it's easy to think that you're a big deal as you get promoted, but the people that are getting promoted really are getting you promoted. All of the bullets that go into your evaluations, they're done by the people below you. So it's easy to think that it's all about you as you pin on more and more whatever gold on your sleeve or on your collar, but really the people that are actually making the mission happen are the guys below you. So that's who you got to watch out for.
That's good. One last thing, leave the place better than you found it.
Yeah. So kind of what the standard mom says to her kids, or when you go on a vacation home, like, we're going to leave this place better than we found it. That could mean that the organization is broken and you need to fix it. It also could mean that a previous leader has piled way too much on the plate of the people in that organization. And instead of playing Jenga, which a lot of leaders like to do, which is not fix the real problem structurally at the bottom and just put another thing on top, you actually go, no, my job as a leader to leave this place better than I found it is to remove things, barriers to these guys actually executing the mission, and be willing to say no.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Alex, that's rich stuff. If I was in the military, I'd want a leader like you. And if you're watching this with a group or maybe with some other guys or with a mentor, use those questions below and talk about this one, because servant leadership, again, if you're a Christian, servant leadership is something that you should aspire to because it's who you're following. You're following Jesus, who is a servant leader.